Recording. Good afternoon. My name is Rob Stenberg, Director of Dealer Development, also with Dealer Training Manager Steve LePage and Dealer Trainer Brian Lamy. Glad you guys could be here today. Goal setting, extremely important, I think, and we think, for AMSOIL dealers in being successful. And I think we've all heard about SMART goals in the past. You know, we've all heard that acronym before, but we decided to put a little bit of a twist on that today. And we're going to talk about some mistakes that get made when people go into goal setting. But first, let's talk about the definition of a goal. A goal, this is the one that I like. I'm going to show you a second one here in just a little bit that I don't think is quite as good, but I think a lot of people and a lot of dealers look at as to the definition of goals. I like this one that says a desired result a person plans and commits to achieve. A desired endpoint in some sort of continual development. You know, when you look at it and say a desired endpoint, a lot of people will think, well, then I'm done. When, of course, what you want to do from that point is set new goals. And that's why the words continual development are so important in this definition. And, of course, most people, they want to reach their goals, and so they're going to set that finite time frame for setting deadlines and for reaching that goal. That all being said, you do want to be flexible and in setting that goal and trying to achieve that goal. It's not the world's end if you achieve the goal 3 months after you had set the deadline, your deadline to do so. So it's important as well to be successful. And I also wanted to take a look at this definition, which is out of dictionary.com. The result or achievement toward which effort is directed. An end. Well, we don't want to end anything. The terminal point in a race, again, a pole, a line, or other marker for which a point is indicated. You know, that means that's very finite. That's very ending. That means once you reach the goal, it's over. It's done with. And I think it's important for AMSOIL dealers to set goals, but know that the very next step after that is going to be to set another goal, is going to be that continual development. So I think that's extremely important to keep that big picture in mind when you're setting goals. So before we get into the SMART goal acronym, let's take a look at the 5 mistakes that a lot of people make when they set goals. And like I said, we've all heard of this, the SMART goal acronym. You know, SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And it's a great approach, but again, we wanted to put a little bit of a twist on this. So what I've got here is the 5 mistakes of goal setting. Number 1, we set goals we know we can achieve. And we're going to go into all of these in a little bit more detail in just a bit. But number 2, we set goals based on what we think we can do according to a plan. Number 3, we require that knowing exactly how to do it be in place in order for it to be our goal. And number 4, we question our right to be, do, or have whatever it is we want in our life. And number 5, we think that the purpose of the goal is to get the goal. So let's take a look at these in a little bit more depth, but in a minute. When you think about the goals you've set in the past and you failed to reach, did you not reach those goals because you didn't have the resources? Did you not have all that was necessary to achieve that goal? Or was the failure in the process of achieving the goal or in the process of setting the goal? Now, if you fail to reach your goal, most of the time it comes from the process of setting the goal. And remember that goal setting and goal achieving are 2 completely different things. Goal setting is an intellectual process. Goal achieving is a lawful process. To reach goals, you have to follow certain laws. So when we set goals, we use our intellectual abilities. When we set and achieve goals, we should develop our intellectual faculties. But which ones do we want to develop? Well, there's 2 intellectual properties we want to use. We want to use imagination and we want to use intuition. Now, don't use reason or your memory. Don't try to remember what you've done in the past. And this might seem a little strange, but don't look to the past for your future direction. Use your imagination. What would you love to do with your AMSOIL business? Where would you love to have your AMSOIL be? What would you love to have? Where do you want to be in the future? whether it's the end of this week, the end of this month, the end of this quarter. Our memories reference our historical past. Imagination, if it's used properly, it defines our future possibility. We should be using our intuition. Intuition is probably the least used business tool in business today. It's part of us that knows that we know. It's our sixth sense. It's our call it your internal GPS. We know what the next step is. Invoke your imagination as to where you want to be in the future, and that's the state of mind that I would encourage you to be in when setting goals. So let's dive into these 5 mistakes. Number 1, we set goals that we know we can achieve. And this happens to us, it happens to companies, it happens all the time. We set goals on what we know we can do. And this can cause us to lose our way and quit on our goal. Well, why does that happen? Well, when we step out of our comfort zone, we meet with failure. Let me tell you something about your comfort zone. The comfort zone, no growth happens in your comfort zone, and there's no comfort in your growth zone. It stretches you. So we meet with failure when we get out of that comfort zone, and that's a challenge to us. But what I would encourage you to do is think about, and this is a long time ago for some of us like me, but think about when you first started to walk. Did you stop after you fell the first time? Did you start to walk, fall, and say, oh, I'm done, I'm not going to walk anymore? Of course you didn't. Failure is the first ingredient in the recipe for success, and this is true whether you're trying to begin your AMSOIL business, whether you've been in your AMSOIL business and you're going to try to increase your sales by 5%, or you're going to try to increase your sales by 50%. If the pain of reaching your goal is greater than the pleasure, you're always going to surrender. If the pain of reaching your goal is larger than that reward that you're going to receive for reaching that goal, you're going to quit. So stretch yourself when you're setting your goals, and remember that we either step forward into growth or backward into safety. Mistake number 2, we set goals based on what we think we can do according to a plan. We look at current market conditions and we think about what we can do. We begin to predict and create a master plan. Now remember, everything in the universe is in a constant state of change. We can't make a plan based upon how things are. Things are going to be different tomorrow. So as soon as we're done setting a plan, all the conditions and the circumstances, they change. But you're emotionally invested in that plan. You see yourself in relation to the goal you've set, not in relation to the plan. Don't set your goals to meet the plan. Answer these questions first. What do I love to do with my AMSOIL business? What gives me life in my AMSOIL business? What do I want to be, do, or have? Where do I want my AMSOIL business to be in 30, 60, 90 days from now? What do I want as an AMSOIL dealer and entrepreneur? Start there. If you set your goals based on the plan, I think you're destined to fail. Mistake number 3, we require that knowing exactly how to do it be in place in order for it to be our goal. We don't have to know how to do it to have it to be our goal. The fact that you don't know how to do something doesn't mean that you can't do it. People will give you dozens of reasons why you can't do something, and I'm sure there are many examples of AMSOIL dealers who have become very successful who had very well-meaning family and friends tell them not to get involved with the AMSOIL business. We've heard those stories for years here at AMSOIL. You could probably even come up with excuses as to why you can't be successful. But remember that the only thing worse than an excuse not to do something is a good excuse not to do something. If you're looking for the how in your current conditions, a good excuse, again, if you're looking for the how in your current conditions and circumstances, your current knowledge and resources, you'll always fail. Remember, the Wright brothers didn't have a pilot's license. They didn't know how to build a plane. They didn't know how to fly a plane. They didn't know how to land a plane. But that didn't stop them, did it? They still did it. They suspended the requirement of knowing how, and I think you should do the same when setting goals for your AMSOIL business. Fail forward until you do know. Failure is always going to be that first step. We really don't know how to do anything until we've done it. Whether it was walking or riding a bike, the first time you tried to walk and the first time you tried to get on a bike, you didn't know how to do it, but you knew you had somebody there to help you along the way. And that's where AMSOIL Corporate and your sponsoring dealer comes in. So we don't really know how to do anything until we've done it. So find your why you want to be successful in your AMSOIL business, and let that drive you to success. If you're going to require that you know how to do it, you're going to stay in your comfort zone and never enter the process of goal achieving. And that's what you really want. Number 4, we question our right to be, do, or have whatever it is we want in our life. You know, sometimes we don't fully understand the game of life. We question whether we're good enough or worthy enough. We're going to suggest you turn that around. Question whether or not the goal is worthy of you. You're going to have to make sacrifices to build your AMSOIL business. You could be spending your time with your family. You could be relaxing. You could be reading. You could be playing golf. All those times where you're out working your AMSOIL business. You have to determine what is of lesser value and what is of higher value. You are of higher value. You should never question your worthiness. Be sure that you understand that your true worth, and you understand that true worth, and you reach your highest potential. You'll never, ever, ever outperform your self-belief. That is extremely important. Mistake number 5, well, we think that the purpose of the goal is to get the goal. And that is probably, I think it's probably the number 1 mistake, really, is that we think that that is the purpose of setting goals. The goal is never to get the goal. That's not the reason we set goals. The purpose of the goal is to cause you to grow, to become the person who can have the things in life that you want. It's to cause you to become aware of the resources you have inside you. And again, if you don't have a goal that causes you to go outside your comfort zone, to stretch and to grow, that puts you in failing positions, and you'll never become aware of your potential. Remember, again, when you learned how to ride a bike, you had to become aware of a different level of performance. You tried and you failed before you reached that level of performance. But you didn't make that journey all by yourself. You didn't do it alone. You did it with the belief of someone else. Maybe a family or a friend, maybe a family member or a friend ran beside you as you learned how to ride that bike. And that's, again, while AMSOIL is here for you, that's why your sponsoring dealer is there for you, and that's what you want to be for those dealers that you sponsor into your personal groups. You want to run alongside of them. You want somebody to run alongside of you, so you become aware of the potential that's inside of you. You're going to fail. There's no doubt about that. Decide now how you're going to handle that. You're going to have to take risks, but if you do it, you will grow and you'll realize your goal. You'll realize all your goals. Now, these are the mistakes to take into account as you set your goals for growing your AMSOIL business. So with that, let's get into the SMART goals themselves, and let's talk about the SMART acronym. The first one being specific. The goals do need to be specific. What exactly do you want to achieve? The more specific your description of the goal, the bigger the chance that you're going to get exactly that. The clearer you can make that picture in your head as to what your goal is, the more success you're going to have in reaching that goal. SMART goal setting clarifies the difference between I want to be a millionaire, let's say that that was your goal, that you said I want to be a millionaire, versus I want to make $15,000 a month for the next 10 years. By growing my AMSOIL business. Much more specific. The goal has to be very specific. Again, you want a very, very clear picture of what your goal looks like. I know people who have set goals for particular vehicles that they wanted to buy, and they would go out and find a picture of exactly that vehicle in the exact color that they wanted. They would have the exact rims on that vehicle that they wanted, and now you can go on to any manufacturer's website and you can create the vehicle that you want, and they would print that picture off and they would stick it on their cork board at work next to their desk, or they would have it on their computer screen at their desk at home. They would always have that very clear picture of what their goal was, so it was always right there in front of them. Some questions you might ask yourself when setting your goals and objectives are, what exactly do I want to achieve? Is it that I just want to simply supplement my income by $300 a month with my AMSOIL business? $500 a month, $750 a month, $1,500 a month. What is it that you want to do? What is it exactly do you want to achieve? When do you want to achieve that by? What is the time frame that I want to reach that mark? Put a timeline to it. Who's going to help me reach this goal? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to be conversing with? Who do I need to be following? Who do I need to be talking to on a regular basis to help me reach this goal? And most importantly, I think, and you've heard me and Steve and Brian and others within AMSOIL talk about this quite a bit over the last couple of years, but why exactly do I want to reach this goal? Why do I want to reach this goal? Is it so that I can make my car payment with this additional income, and that's what I want to do with it? Is it because I want to help my child go to college, and I want to pay for their college tuition so they don't have to take out college loans and incur that kind of debt? And in fact, I would advise rather that you ask anybody that you are talking to about becoming an AMSOIL dealer, why? Why do they want to become an AMSOIL dealer? If somebody gives you a response that's really, really fuzzy and doesn't have a whole lot of focus to it and just says, well, I don't know, I just think it'd be kind of cool to sell oil, you know, I would want to dig deeper into that. I would want to find out a little bit more before I spent a lot of time as their sponsoring AMSOIL dealer and spend a lot of time on them if they don't have that type of commitment level. If I have somebody who, when I ask that question, why do you want to be an AMSOIL dealer, and they give me a very specific reason, because I have bills that need to be paid, I'm going to get laid off in 3 months, I need something else to do, I'm going to be I'm going to be forced into retirement and I don't want to sit around the house. Those strong whys are much, much better to have in a new dealer coming in than somebody who's very unclear or fuzzy about why they want to be an AMSOIL dealer. So next is measurable, the M in SMART. Measurable goals, it means that you can identify exactly what it is that you will see, and not only what it is you'll see, but what you hear and feel when you reach that goal. It's measurable, and I want you to also think about, well, how am I going to feel when I reach that goal? What's going to be different about me when I reach that goal? How am I going to feel? What's it going to look like? How is it going to be different for me? It means breaking your goal down into measurable elements. Being happier, by the way, being happier is not a measurable element. You can't just say, well, I'll be happier if I make more money. No, not really. So you might think you would be, but that has proven not to be the case. You know, if you say to yourself, I'm going to lose 50 pounds because I've adhered to a healthy lifestyle, I eat vegetables twice a day, and I cut sweets down to once a week, well, that's something I can measure. At the end of the week, did I accomplish all those things? And if I didn't, how can I accomplish them in the week coming up? But measurable goals can go a long way in refining what it is exactly that you want. So defining those physical manifestations of your goal or your objective makes it clear, and it makes it much easier to reach. Let's talk about A, attainable. Is your goal attainable? That means investigating whether the goal is really acceptable to you. You weigh the effort, you weigh the time. As I said earlier, hey, you're going to have to make some sacrifices to grow your AMSOIL business. You know, there's going to be times where you wish you were out playing golf and you're at a trade show. Well, that's where, you know, you have to decide if I'm going to make this trade-off to reach my goals. And there are other costs for reaching your goals, and it's going to take time. It's going to take your obligation, and you're going to have to determine what priorities you have in your life. And again, I want to reemphasize this. Remember that you're never going to outperform your beliefs. Beliefs are a huge issue, and actually we just had a meeting earlier this morning where we talked a lot about that, where the beliefs are going to drive your behavior. That's all there is to it. If you believe in one manner and try to act in another, it's something they call cognitive dissonance. It causes conflict, in other words, inside of you. So you can take something that seems impossible and you can make it happen by planning smartly for it. Now, I know that might seem a little off because I said earlier you can't follow a plan, but this is saying you can take something that seems impossible, that you don't even think is possible to do, and if you simply follow your beliefs and you are persistent and consistent, sooner or later you're going to reach that spot. So and there's nothing wrong with shooting for the stars. If you aim to take your AMSOIL business to make it your sole source of income in 5 years, and you only make it 75% of your income in 5 years, do you think, would that be a bad thing to you? I don't think it would be. I would think that somebody at that point in time would say, they wouldn't say, hey, I'm only at 75% of my income and not at 100%, so I'm done, I'm going to quit after 5 years. They'd say, no, how in the next 12 months do I make up that next 25%? And I reach my goal in 6 years instead of 5. So it's attainable. Don't quit on it. The R, relevant. Is reaching your goal relevant to you? Do you actually want to run a large AMSOIL business? If the answer is no, that's fine. Do you simply want to make that extra $350 a month? You have to decide what is relevant. If you're lacking certain skills, you can plan training. You can go to AU. You can reach out to your sponsor. You can reach out to AMSOIL and find the skills that you need to help reach your goal. If you lack certain resources, look for ways to find them. Search, and you will find. The main question is, why do you want to reach this goal? What is the objective behind the goal, and will this goal really achieve that objective? And then finally is timely. What's the timeline for your goal? Time's money. And I always say that actually money is more, we all know that money is more valuable than time. I can make more money, I can't make more time. So everyone knows that having that target inspires most people to take action. So install those targets and go after them. Put those time frames. Yes, the time frames have to be realistic. Yes, they should be flexible, but it helps you keep your morale high by setting those timelines. If you're too stringent on the timely aspect of your goal setting, it can have a detrimental effect on learning the path to goal achievement. And remember what we said, goal setting and goal achievement are two different things. So ground that goal in a time frame. With no time frame tied to it, there's no sense of urgency. If you want to lose 10 pounds and you say, well, when are you going to lose 10 pounds by? I'm going to do it someday. I don't know when, sometime in the future. Someday doesn't work. I think it was, who was it? Someday I'll. That's called the Someday I'll curse. Someday I'll do this. Someday I'll grow my AMSOIL business. Someday I'll lose 10 pounds. Someday I'll. Dennis Waitley said that. Someday I'll. Someday I'll. Someday I'll. It's a disease. Anchor it with that time frame. Say you need to do that by May 1st, you're going to do X, whatever X might be. So your goal is probably realistic if you truly believe that it can be accomplished. If you don't believe it can be accomplished and you set a goal, that's certain failure to happen. Additional ways to know if your goal is realistic is to determine if you've accomplished anything similar to that in the past. Ask yourself what conditions would have to exist to reach that goal. So you can look to the past as long as you don't use that as a predicator for your future success. So write these goals down, keep them in front of you, put them on the bathroom mirror, put them on your computer screen in your office, put them wherever you need to put them in order for you to see them on a daily basis so you see them frequently and you keep them top of mind. So when you're setting goals, be careful. Watch for those 5 mistakes. Read those goals on a daily basis. Set the time frames like we talked about. Expect failure. Expect that things are not going to go exactly as planned. Know that you're going to run into roadblocks. We talked about it actually at the DJ convention when we had all the new DJs on the stage. We talked about how they made a decision before they hit those obstacles, what they were going to do when they hit an obstacle. How am I going to react to an obstacle? I don't even need to know what the obstacle is. I just know that I'm going to run into obstacles. How am I going to treat those obstacles at that time? Am I going to throw my hands up in the air and say I quit, or am I going to figure a way to get over that hurdle, around that wall, whatever I need to do to continue? Be persistent and consistent. Hey, success, Darren Hardy said success can be mundane, it can be boring, it can be tedious, because you need to be persistent and consistent in order to be successful. But that is definitely two characteristics that any successful person has. They persist and they consist. They're always consistent with what they're doing. And be successful. You will be successful in reaching your goals if you use some of your intuition, if you use that intellect, if you use your imagination, if you use some of these tools, you will reach your goals and you will be as successful as you want to be. So that is the end of the teaching portion, if you will, of this webinar. We'd be more than happy to open it to any questions that anybody might have as to goal setting or for anything that we've talked about so far here. You can raise your hand by clicking on the button down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And let me see if I got Rob Eilertson. Let me see if I can. Rob, are you on the line?
I'm here there, buddy. Good to hear you.
Hey, good to hear you too. How you doing?
Oh, good, thanks. I just put a note in before. I just wondered if it's going to start when the president spoke. But I've been listening, so we're good. Thank you for contacting me, though. All
right, thanks, Robert. If you could go ahead and click on your icon to go ahead and put your hand down, that'd be great. Appreciate that. All right, I'm going to look for other hands in the air. Let me see here. Don't have anything so far, but I don't know what the. All right, let me see here. Let me refresh. I'm going to refresh my screen here. Just a minute here. We got, all right. Carol Bell, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hey. Yeah, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good.
One comment I want to make is that you didn't mention the number of goals that a person should set. And I think that that can vary. If you make too many goals, it's overwhelming. And yet, you want to make enough where you can achieve them. Right?
Yeah, you make a very good point. I did not talk about the number, and you're right. You want to make enough to where it challenges you, and also there's the fine line where it does not overwhelm you. I like to keep it to 3. I think 3 is kind of a magic number in my book. There's a reason for 3s. 3's a pretty powerful number. That's why, and actually the military has done a lot of studies on this. 3 is a very powerful number. That's why you have the 3 Musketeers, the 3 Stooges, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's 3. 3 is a very powerful number. So what I would suggest is 3, 4 absolute top in my book, because I think once it gets past 4, it can get a little overwhelming. So good point, and I'm glad you brought that up. Does that make sense, that answer?
Yes, absolutely.
What would you say? Would you say that more than, because you guys, I know you have been a big goal setter for a lot of years.
Right.
Would you say that more than 3? What have you found for yourself as to?
What David and I used to do was set pages and pages of them each January. And they weren't all AMSOIL goals. Most of them were. But we set personal goals and other kind of goals, too. Mm-hmm. He just thought in those terms. It made him feel good to have pages and pages of goals. And he would write down dealers that we had that he wanted to help them get up to the next level. And this is just how he operated. But I've never seen anybody like that before, make that many goals. And by myself now, I don't like to make so many. Mm-hmm. I prefer a small. I made more than 3, but
right.
It's a little easier. It's a little less overwhelming, I think, to make fewer goals.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I mean, it doesn't mean that you set 3 and that's all you set. Maybe you've got 10 goals, but you want to work on the top 3 first. What are the top 3? What are the top 3 most important to you? What take the highest priority? People talk a lot about time management. The best tip I ever got on time management is write out the things that you need to have done in the order that you think are the highest priority to lowest priority. You work on the highest priority thing first. You get that done, you move to number 2. Because if you do that throughout the day and you only get 3 out of 5 done, well, there was no other way to get all 5 done anyways.
Right.
So you might as well work on those that are the highest priority to you. And I would do the same thing with goals. Maybe you've got 15, 20, 25 goals in mind, but you know what? These are the 3 that are my highest priority and that I'm working on right now. And once number 1 is done and you've achieved number 1, it comes off the list. Number 2 moves up to number 1, and number 4 moves up to number 3. And so you just follow that process. And I think that's kind of what you were describing as David did. He might have bounced around a little bit, but I would bet that if he had that long of a list, he also had in his head what his highest priorities were, and he kind of worked on those first.
Absolutely. And I think I've read before where it's a good idea to have A, B, and C. Your top ones in A, and your less ones in B, and your minor ones in C. Yeah,
you can segment them out into those categories so that and it gives you some things to work on and say, where am I going to spend my high value time? It's going to be spent in the A category. If I have some time that's just I got a little extra time, maybe I go talk, or spend some time on B or C. But the high value time is going to be spent in the A category.
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks, Carol.
You bet.
Talk to you later.
Okay.
All right. We've got Tim. Let me see if I can get you. Tim, you there? Whoop. Wait a minute, Tim. Wait a minute. Tim, you there?
Hey, Rob, you there?
Yeah. How you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Hey, I'm a numbers-driven type of guy, and I was wondering, to attain certain goals, if you guys have tons of data out there, do you see that, to get to be a DJ or to be, the different levels, how many customers you need to obtain that you could have a goal to obtain, active customers, not just names on a list, but active customers and work them? You need to have 200 to obtain this level or 500 to obtain this level. So somewhere to set a goal and put that number up there and keep working on people. Do you have any data like that?
It's been a while since I've looked at that. A couple of years ago when I was moved to Director of Dealer Development, away from dealer sales, Director of Dealer Sales. It's been a while since I've looked at those numbers. Tim, I would encourage you, I think Peter Markham, your Regional Sales Manager, might still have those numbers. And if he doesn't, I think he can get them for you. I would suggest you give him a call and see if he doesn't have those numbers for you, because those numbers, like you said, you're a numbers-driven person. I think they could help drive a guy like you to say, all right, here's where I am, here's what the average DJ has, and I think we should maybe even I hope I'm not committing people to things that I shouldn't be, but if we took a look even as the higher levels of recognition as you continue to move up in the ranks when Master DJ and Regency and so forth, what are those averages? And then we could provide those numbers, and somebody can say, hey, to reach a DJ, I need to have an average of X number of PCs, dealers, retail accounts, commercial accounts, and then to reach the next level, I need to here are my numbers for the next level and the next level beyond that. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, absolutely, because it's always going to fluctuate. It's not going to be, in concrete, but that gives you an idea where you have to be and how much, lead generation you have to go and then convert them over to customers. And, it's part of the buy-sell process that, you have at the AMSOIL University. But at the same time, I have one guy that's just getting started, and he thinks he can get away with 20 people. I said, well, 20 people, that's not going to happen, dude, unless there are 20 major hitters. And if you get 20 major hitters, God bless you, but you're going to need a lot more than that.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's good, and I think Peter Markham might have those numbers for you.
Okay, great.
Okay. All right, let me see here. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that, Tim. Let me mute Tim's line, and I don't think I can get, there's a check mark by that one, so that's not a hand up, so, all right. So we'll open it up. I don't see any other hands up for questions on this information. Why don't I open it up to any other questions? And if you have a question, again, there's in the lower right-hand corner, there should be an icon where you can raise your hand and let us know that you're looking to talk to us. Just a second here. I think we got. Yeah, but I can't. It doesn't. Doug, I'm trying to get to you, but it won't let me. It won't let me unmute your line for some reason. You might be. I'm not sure why that is, Doug. We're trying to get to you, but I can't get Doug on the line for some reason. Let me try this. I'm going to try this, and then Doug, I'm going to try to get back to you. Robert or Nancy, you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
How you doing?
Good. Young gentleman just called in. That's a darn good idea.
Yeah.
I think we should call our regional manager, right? See if he has that data available.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That was a very good idea.
Yep.
Something to shoot at, you know, some figures to work with, and what direction to go exactly.
You
well,
bet.
This is the first time this has worked and I'm being connected, so I'm kind of happy about that.
Very good.
Good seminar, Rob. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks a lot. All right. Yeah. So having those as a goal is definitely something that is going to be very helpful, and I think especially to new dealers, so that they can figure out what they need to do. And you could even actually, we talked about it at a DJ level and up, you could actually go backwards and say, hey, this is what I need to do to become a direct dealer. First, I got to be a direct dealer or an account direct before I can become a DJ. So here's what you need to accomplish, and here are some of the averages before you even hit DJ, and help those dealers that are just coming into the business. So, all right. Doug Crawford, you'll have to email us because for some reason we're not able to bring you in on the line and unmute your line for some reason. So I don't know why that might be. So let's see. All right, let me see here, Dan. We're going to try to get if we have answered your question, please click on your hand button again to pull your hand back down. Dan Lloyd, are you on the line?
I am.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good.
So here's my situation with my business. I have a very small downline, about 7 dealers, but I have about 80 different accounts that are doing okay for me, commercial accounts, retail accounts, but my downline is dead and they contribute very little, and I'm having difficulty attracting dealers that really want to be active and work the business.
Mm-hmm.
Any advice?
Yeah, first I would see if there's a possibility of re-energizing any of those 7 dealers that you have in your group. That would be my first step. My second step would be to try to find those areas within your geographic location, within your geographic area. Where do entrepreneurs hang out? Where do people who are interested in business opportunities, where do they, and when I say where do they hang out, I mean where do they hang out online in your area? Where do they hang out physically in your area? Where do I have a trade school in my community where I could go and talk to people who are going to school to become mechanics? Do I have enthusiasts, car clubs, motorcycle clubs? Those are not a bad place to look. The local university here has an entrepreneur club. Well, that means that we've got people here in our community that are 20, 21, 22 years old that are looking for entrepreneurial opportunities. Can I go talk to them? So I would look for those areas where people are interested in having their own business, having some autonomy, having some control over the direction of not only what income they make, but their life, whether it be their own boss, whether it's just to make a couple extra bucks a month, whatever it might be. I would look in some of those areas. And I think some of our dealers have been extremely successful in just simply taking out personal ads in some local newspapers. And when I say local newspapers, I mean neighborhood newspapers. And a small personal ad that says, hey, if you're looking to make more money, if you're looking to add to your income, contact me, independent AMSOIL dealer XYZ. So that's where I would start to look. Lost the screen. That's where I would start to look in my geographic area. Are those places where, you know, people are already looking for a good opportunity.
Okay.
That makes sense? Does that help?
Yes, thank you. You know,
all right.
It's you can find a dealer, but to find someone that really wants to put in the work and the effort and is not afraid to go and call on a customer and set up an account and do the work, that's you know, that's the hard part.
Yeah, it can be a needle in a haystack, can't it, Dan?
Yes, it can.
But that's
working for me.
Well, and that's why I like the entrepreneur club or some of those types of clubs, because most entrepreneurs, they're going to find ways around those hurdles that I talked about in the goal setting. They're going to find ways. They know as an entrepreneur, even at 20, 21, 22 years old, they know things are not going to go perfect. I'm going to have to work to get this done. And so that's why I like that. And even the trade schools, people who are in trade schools know that, hey, I got to work hard to make this work. And that's true of anything that I get into. So that's why I like those two as options.
Very good. I appreciate
the
pointers.
Thanks,
you for
Dan.
your help.
You bet. All right, Doug, glad you could email us in and get this on. Doug had a concern that from a retail on the shelf prospect who said, every motorcycle rider I talk to is an AMSOIL dealer. I addressed it and we're moving forward, yet I'd like to hear how you guys would address that concern. Doug, I'm glad you got in and got your question in. Every motorcycle rider I talk to is an AMSOIL dealer. I think one of the best ways to address that is to say, you know what, yes, every AMSOIL rider and a retail on the shelf account, I don't know if, Doug, if your specific case was that it was a motorcycle retail on the shelf account or not, but if it's an automotive parts store and they say that, hey, everybody I talk to is an AMSOIL dealer, the fact of the matter is this, to be very candid, there's a lot of AMSOIL dealers out there that are only purchasing products for themselves or their personal friends or a few family members. They're not AMSOIL dealers like all the damn AMSOIL dealers on this line. You guys are on this line because you're trying to learn more, you're trying to run a serious business, and you want to continue to grow your business. And we love all of you, whether it's somebody who just wants to buy for family and friends and you know, some close acquaintances, beautiful, we love it. For you that are trying to build this as a serious business and make serious income with it, we love it. Most AMSOIL dealers, the higher percentage of them are in that previous category. And the bottom line is this with retail on the shelf accounts. There are a lot of people, a lot of their customers are their customers because they like to come into the store, pick something up off the shelf, and buy it right then and there. They don't want to be a club member, like a preferred customer member. They don't want to be a member of a buying club. They are also sometimes very, what's the word I'm looking for? When you just do something, when you're shopping and it's at the front counter. Impulse, thank you. A lot of them are impulse type buyers and impulse type do-it-yourselfers. Well, if you got a do-it-yourselfer on a Saturday afternoon and they got their bike in the air and they've drained their oil and then all of a sudden realize, oh, dang, I'm 1.5 quarts short. Well, we want them going to that retail on the shelf store to get their products so that they can finish their oil change and get out on the road on Sunday. So that's how I would address it, is say not everybody wants to be a part of a buying club. Not everybody's going to be an AMSOIL dealer. Not everybody wants to do that. And even some AMSOIL dealers want to just go in and buy some of their stuff on a retail shelf. They don't keep a full, they don't stock the full product line itself. So that's how we would recommend handling that kind of a situation. And Doug, I'm glad that you found a way that's been successful for you as well. All right. Rob, we got Rob back on the line? Rob, do you want to talk? Oh, let's see. Rob, hold on a second.
I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. All right. Did you want to talk again?
Sure.
Because you are more than welcome to. You absolutely. Ask away, my friend.
Okay. Any hard dates yet for when the diesel oils, the data sheets, G1490s, and pricing will be released?
I want to say that is February. I want to say February 1, but don't quote me on that. My recommendation to you would be to either get a hold of your RSN, your regional sales manager, Peter Markham, or you could talk to, if he's not available, you could talk to Mark Nyholm, and they would give you the exact drop dead dates. I want to say February 1. And if I'm off by maybe 2 weeks. So maybe February 14th, but it's going to be right in that area.
All right. Well, hey, that's closer. That's good. Thank you.
You bet. All right. Nothing. Carol. All right. Are there any other questions out there? You can also type your questions into the box on the lower right-hand side and click send for us to get those. Yeah, we got the new diesel oils coming out here soon. Obviously, there's a lot of changes coming along in the new diesel specs that are in the market with the CK4 and the FA4, and there's issues with backwards compatibility of those oils and so on. So yeah, there's a lot going on with that, and so be sure that if you are selling into the diesel market, that you are up to date on all of those changes. Tim, did you have another question on something on delivery?
Delivery system, the dispensing system, Rob. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I'm pitching this to get my customers out of cases and into barrels, and I gave a printout that doesn't have a G number that I can see on it, but it's dated 1 of 17. And one fellow started looking at it, and he was all getting excited and everything, and he saw on the cart's only rated for 400 pounds, and the barrel's 460.
I'm not sure what's your question. I'm sorry.
The cart isn't weighted. It doesn't carry a weight capacity enough for a barrel, a 55-gallon drum. Let's say like AME.
That would be a question you'd want to steer to our Director of Logistics, Tom Pelland. That I would, anything having...
No, this is the new dispensing.
Oh, the new dispensing. I'm sorry. I'm onto the quarts and the barrels. I'm like, what talk to Tim Golden. He's in charge of the retail and commercial programs. He's our program manager. Give Tim Golden a call. He'll be able to answer. Sorry, I misunderstood your question there. Yeah, he'd be able to get you the information you're looking for there.
Yeah, because the customer's concern was that he was going to get a cart that wouldn't hold a whole barrel, weight-wise.
Yeah, I'd give Tim a ring, and he'll get you all the info you need on that program.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You bet. All right, I got a question here that somebody has typed in, and that question is, would you please give 1 or 2 weekly sales goals that we can implement tomorrow, short-term, to help achieve a long-term goal? Depending on, Gerald, yeah, Gerald, good to hear from you. Yeah, I would simply make I would set some goals on a weekly basis as to the number of people that I'm going to talk to as to the AMSOIL business. If I'm going to set a goal to talk to one other person this week about becoming an AMSOIL dealer, and I'm going to find them in the right place. It's just not that I'm going to make a cold call on them. I'm going to find somebody who is looking for an entrepreneurial situation. They're looking for an entrepreneurial opportunity, somebody who is interested in being a business builder. I'm going to look for those areas, and I'm going to talk to somebody who has already shown interest in that. I'm going to make 3 to 4 calls, 3 calls on potential preferred customers. I'm going to make 3 calls on potential retail accounts. And I'm going to make 3 calls on potential commercial accounts. And now when I say these calls, what I always recommend that AMSOIL dealers do is that they research these places of business before they go in and call on them. You can do a whole lot of research on the internet, obviously, as to these companies, finding out a little bit more about them. If I'm going to go call on a commercial account, for example, I'm going to find out what their service that they're offering to their customers. What do the customers of that commercial account, what do their customers want? And how do they service their customers? And how can I help them take away some of the pain that they might have in the process of serving those customers? If I can identify and take away that pain for them, I have a much better chance of them doing business with me. So I would say and that number could be 3, could be 2, could be 1, could be 5. It's whatever you have the time to do. So that's how I would set those goals, is set up those goals and go from there. Got another note here that per the AMSOIL Dealer Magazine, new diesel oils will be available on February 6th. Is that when the data sheets will be available? Again, I'd suggest calling into your regional sales manager or into Mark Nyholm, who is the product manager for diesel oils. So we should be pretty close on those. So that was no other questions. All right. So no other questions in the box. Nobody else has their hand up. We hope you found this informational. We hope you found it helpful. And we'll continue to do these webinars. So we're going to try some different times during the day, during the night. These are always recorded. And by the way, these webinars are now in the free area of AMSOIL University Online. So if you go into AMSOIL University Online, if you go into the Dealer Zone, click on the AU link, you're going to find these along with the quick shots that Steve LePage does. You're going to find those quick shots also free. If you're not familiar with quick shots, let me tease you and just say, go into the Dealer Zone, go to the AU online link, click on it, and go in and take a look at the quick shots. You'll be able to tell real quickly what quick shots is really all about. And then last but certainly not least, and I meant to mention this on the top of the show, we're going to have our AU Live in Las Vegas. AU Live is a live event to augment and to support what we're doing with AU Online, but we also wanted to get out in the field. So there's going to be information, training, inspiration, motivation out in the field. AU Live in Las Vegas. Due to some size constraints, we had to limit it to 150 dealers. Registration for that will be opening. We're shooting for the end of the week, so watch for that announcement as well. And with that, and seeing no other hands in the air and no other questions on our end, please have a great day. If you do have any other questions, training@amsoil.com is the email address. And thank you for being here. We'll see you at the next webinar. Good luck, good selling.